Well, Geo Nerds, here we are this morning down at Redcliffe. Thunderstorm just to our south. It's a great day. Actually, we're at Scarborough, but behind me is the Red Cliff. And we're here because of the red. Who put the red in Redcliffe? Well, Petrie did. The Petrie Formation, because the Petrie Formation contains decomposed basalt. And decomposed basalt, well, to decompose basalt, you have to have basalt. And if you have basalt, you've got to have volcanics. And the whole of Moreton Bay, from here at Scarborough, it's none north of here, all the way down to Redland Bay, strangely enough, there is basalt. But where did it come from? It didn't come out of the sky. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to have a look at the sources of this basalt. We're going to use some new data we haven't used before, some borehole data, and we're going to see exactly, you've already seen the intro where I think it came from. So anyway, if you dig the vibe, like and subscribe. Hang in there, it's going to be a slightly longer video. Hang in there and grab a brew, and you know what I'm going to say. Let's rock.
Show you what it means, from our mystic shores to outback sands. Rocks, he's your guide to our ancient land. He's your guide to our ancient land.
Well, folks, here we go. We're going to shimmy down Queen Street. Breathe in. When I do hit the building, I just stop and shoot it again. Anyway, here we go. Today we're going out to Petrie. Going to whiz across the north side of Brisbane pretty quick because we're talking about the Petrie Formation, specifically the northern bit of it. And it starts here, strangely enough, at Petrie. That's the site of Petrie's old house there, Marumba, which, of course, the Catholic Church knocked down after agreeing not to. A little bit of the Petrie Formation there. Most of it is not there. We're heading out to Scarborough because this is all the Petrie Formation, particularly these red bits down here, which you've already seen a little bit of. This is all decomposing basalt, and we want to know where it came from. So let's pull back. That's pretty much all the Petrie Formation on the Redcliffe Peninsula. Then we squeeze in here to Bald Hills. This is another pile of decomposing basalt at Bald Hills, which is why it's a hill. And we're just going to squeeze over because Nudgee, same thing, another hill, coastal cliffs there, see my video on that, and the islands. Some of these islands are also decomposing basalt. Well, folks, here we are at Bald Hills. See over my shoulder here is Strathpine, and what we're doing here is this is a great big lump of decomposing basalt. The mystery from the Petrie Formation is 90 million years ago, 80 million years ago, where did this basalt come from? It's here, red soil here, red soil, basalt. Red soil over at Castledine, basalt. Brackenridge, not so much. Brackenridge is the Woogaroo Formation, the Ipswich coal deposits. Scarborough, red soil, basalt. Bondall Bentonite, decomposing volcanic ash, even better. Anyway, let's head out to Petrie and see where this all starts, because it does start at Petrie. Well, Geo Nerds, here we are at Petrie. Behind me is the Tom Petrie Memorial. One of the most awesome Queenslanders. Died in 1910, reminiscence of Tom Petrie. There's a few on my website, on my YouTube site, and someone else has digitised the whole books. Absolutely worth reading, good fun. So anyway, the Petrie Memorial here at Petrie, strangely enough. So what's it made out of, guys? Well, sandstone, granite, concrete, marble. That's all carved marble. Guarantee you none of that is from around here. But it is pretty awesome. I got to admit. Hey, let's see if the fountain still works. This is for Rob. He's in Rome where all the bloody fountains work. Oh, of course it doesn't work. Oh, of course there's no water. This is Australia. Who'd want a cold drink on a hot day, eh? Oh well. There's the Tom Petrie Memorial Windmill. And of course here's the Tom Petrie Memorial Stainless Steel Electric Free Barbecue. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. And the Tom Petrie Memorial Dunnies. Everything's fantastic. We're here to look at the Petrie Formation. Now, this is a fairly young formation in Brisbane. It's only 90 million years old. Where I am now, just behind the school at Petrie, is actually not on the Petrie Formation. It's on the Coombar Bed Formation, which is basically a slightly younger version of the Narrowleaf Fernvale Formation from Brisbane. So we're talking about shales, schists, mudstones, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks. These things are quite old. They're really carboniferous. So like 400 million years old where I'm walking right now. By the time I get to the top of the hill, that's 200 million years. Well, folks, where are we? Well, we're at Petrie, and we're in a park. I'll put the name on the screen. Up behind the Petrie School, between the Petrie School and the railway station. Why are we here? Beautiful park, don't get me wrong. Lovely trees, beautiful, mature gum trees. Julian, you can tell me what they are. Stringy barks and not stringy barks. But why am I here? Well, because this is a point where three rock formations meet. So if I walk over here, I'm standing in the Petrie Formation, 90 million years old. If I walk over here, that's the path, I'm standing in the Landsborough Sandstone, 200 million years old. And if I walk over here, I'm standing in the Coombar Beds, nearly 400 million years old. I'll walk back here, just up here a bit. I'm standing on the Landsborough Sandstone again. So within a very small radius here, we've just walked through, let's round figure this amongst friends, 300 million years of geology in what is a 3-metre circle. Amazing place. Map will be on the screen. You'll know how to find it. Come and have fun. I'll warn you in advance. There's not much to see. Anyway, I'm going to put the drone up briefly, and then we're going to get cracking. Yeah, sorry if I've ruined the sound of music for you, but you know, life's pretty straight without twisties. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, Petrie Formation. I've drawn this for you. A nice little red bits where most of the Petrie Formation is, except for the yellow bit, which is a bentonite deposit, which is on top of the Petrie Formation. So anyway, most of those areas, if you have a look, are going to have red soils somewhere in that formation. You've seen Scarborough already. It's definitely very red. That's because it's full of iron oxide, as in rust. Various chemical states of rust, but it's rust. And even if the basalt is now gone, which at Scarborough it is, the iron has been left in the clays. That's why it's called decomposed basalt. I doubt if you'd find a piece of basalt on the surface. You might, if you drill down, you'd probably hit layers of it further down where it was still there. Matter of fact, I know you do, because it's in the borehole data. So let's have a look at the Petrie Formation, where it sits. I've done it in bright pink here for you, and it goes right down to past Coochie-Mudlow. As a matter of fact, the red cliffs on the end of Coochie-Mudlow are part of that formation. That's a decomposed basalt stained clay, and I think Coochie means red. Not sure. We get the fickle finger of fate to run down there. That's just running past Nudgee now. That's the bit at Nudgee. That's all we're going to do in this video, the top half. But as you can see, it runs right down the bay. And there's a pretty much dead straight line between the Uluru Formation and the basalts of the Petrie Formation. Interesting, hey? So folks, what are we walking on here? Well, that's concrete. That's been spray-created on there to try and stabilise the cliffs. It'll work, you know, for a period of time. An absolute nanosecond in geological time. But we're walking on this stuff. And all these reefs you see in front of Scarborough and Redcliffe are made out of this same stuff. It's a ferrocretion. It's a, if you like, a clay that's been concreted, bad word, into this rock. It's fairly soft and it's full of iron, as you can see, and sitting on the bottom of it is this white clay. And further down the peninsula here, you'll see nodules of this. You can see it here as well. They just come out and it's all pretty soft. Alright, let's have a look at this stuff. As you can see, it chips quite easily. Here's a rock. It's a nice unoxidized piece there. It's sand, clay particles. As you can see, there's a lot of iron in that. Where does the iron come from? Basalt. Well folks, here's a lump of this stuff that's in all the reefs out in front here, and if you have a look, when we hit it with a hammer, it is exactly what we thought it was. See the spark come off that? Then you hope I got that. This is called ferrocrete, and as you can see, it's beautiful and red underneath, because all of this, even though it looks black, it's not. It's red. And even if you move away from the front of Redcliffe, this is Course Street. It's over in the middle of Redcliffe. You can see all the iron staining in the concrete. It's all been stained by the iron coming out of the ground. You can see it over there. It's very red. Well folks, here we are above Bald Hills, and you can see the hill there where it is, and the South Pine River that cut right in there, and that darker yellow is the OlivineBasalt Formation at Bald Hills. That's about 80 million years old, somewhere around there. Here's another view of it. You can see it stretches right over to Castledine, and there is more of this formation at Castledine, but it's very much degraded. Bald Hills is still basically intact because it's still a hill. And meanwhile, over at Bondall, some basaltic magma has connected with some groundwater somewhere, and the ash is really hitting the fan. And when volcanic ash is worked on by groundwater for quite some time, it becomes bentonite. And this bentonite is sitting on top of the decomposing basalt of the Petrie Formation. So in 1968, a layer of bentonite clay, 7 meters thick, was discovered between 1/2 meter and 2 meters under the topsoil at Bondall. Now, when it was tested, it was found to be not good enough for the petroleum industry, so it wasn't worth pursuing, but the extent of the deposit was never ever explored. So it could be quite large, it may not be large. But it was 7 meters thick. That's a lot of bentonite. It really is. So yeah, I've got the map here. I'll overlay it and you can see where they drill the holes. If you live down that way and you want to go and have a walk and have a look, it's a wetland reserve. You can wander in and check it out. I don't think there'll be much to see. So folks, here we are down at Nudgee. There's the old dump in front of us there. And you can clearly see the dark brown, and that is the Petrie Formation OlivineBasalt. And at Nudgee, of course, it's really obvious because, of course, you get the decomposed red soils like this. You can see around that Telstra pit there where they've had a bit of a dig. That is iron in the soil coming from the decomposed basalt. And over here at the old St Vincent's Road Cemetery, well, that's a fairly deep hole and it's very red. So that is the soil. I know it's been a long journey, folks, but this is the Petrie Formation, and this is the Petrie Formation segments that contain mainly OlivineBasalt. And we've already seen Scarborough and Redcliffe, we've seen Petrie, and if we come down, we've been to Bald Hills and the bentonite here, and we've seen Nudgee. But if we take a pull back, here we have the Bracalba Fault coming out of the north. You can see my video on that if you want to know more about that. And all of a sudden, we've got a straight line in these formations. Now, straight lines in geology are never accidental. So straight through the eastern side of the bay, we have a really big deposit of this stuff. And you can imagine a 40-kilometre lava fountain would have been awesome. So why did this happen? Well, back when we were part of Gondwana, you can see Australia in the bottom right-hand corner there. About 85 million years ago, that big mass started to break off. I'll just zoom up on that for you. And that is, or became, New Zealand. And when it left us, it stretched the crust on this side of Australia where we are. And it kept stretching it. So looking at 80 million years, 75 million years, you can see the Tasman Sea opening up there, and it's pulling on the crust. Now the Tasman Sea is stretching as well, don't get me wrong, but the Australian, the east coast of Australia is being stretched, and when you stretch continental crust, you get a specific formation called a graben. Let's have a look at it. Well, folks, continents are continents because they're made out of lighter rock, and the granitic rock in continents floats. It is buoyant in the Earth's mantle or the asthenosphere. The mantle rocks are very heavy in iron and magnesia, and they are basically basaltic rocks or basaltic magma. And this is why the ocean floor is basically basalt. The basaltic magmas come up at the ocean trenches and they head out, and that's it. And they're heavy, so they go under the continents, continental drift. We don't need that in this video. So how did we get basalt, which is oceanic rock or mantle rock, whizzing up through our little continent here, when, as we saw, the continent was well and truly a continent at that time? Well, it happens because it finds a weakness. And of course, we'll have a look at that now. So as it stretches, it causes a series of faults, and it causes these blocks to drop, and they drop in a specific way. But because it generates these faults, there is a weakness for lava to penetrate. And if there is a mantle plume or a rising in the mantle, that mantle rock can make it to the surface, and that's olivine basalt, which is what we're seeing here. So let's have a quick look at the type of landscape that can develop. It's called a Horston graben, and I believe Moreton Bay is a graben, and we're on a horst. Let's have a look at the rocks. Granite, light colour; basalt, mafic, dark colour. And this is basalt. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about it. This is olivine basalt. You can see the little chunks of olivine in that, or peridot it's also called. And when you get a lot of it, this is in Hawaii. See that green colour of that beach and those cliffs? That is all olivine. And here it is. These are all little tiny gems, bazillions of little tiny gems. It's an amazing beach. Dan Hurd went there and did a really good look at it, the geology guy, so check him out if you're interested in it. So in this video we've talked about the olivine basalt on the edge of Moreton Bay through this area here, and there is a lot of it. It's very old now and it's all decomposing, and that's where we get our red soils from. But what we haven't talked about is the other olivine basalt in this area. This is the Petrie Formation. It goes right through to Archerfield, and that red soil in those hills is decomposing olivine basalt, and it's the same age as the Petrie Formation basalt. We'll talk more about that in another video, I think. Well folks, this is what low viscosity basaltic magma looks like when it comes to the surface. It's called basaltic lava, and it does all look pretty much the same. This is in Hawaii, but the stuff in Brisbane would have looked exactly the same all those years ago. And it's called flood lava for a reason. It spreads like self-leveling concrete. And it just spreads out and fills valleys and fills entire landscapes, which it probably did here. A lot of it's been eroded away because it was a long time ago. Quick shout out, by the way, to one of my junior geo nerds over the north side, Archie. Archie, from what I hear, you rock. And you keep your interest in rocks up because you can take it everywhere with you in your life. It's a lot of fun. So, that could be about it. Next video, the submarine canyons of Australia. We'll take a voyage to the bottom of the sea. We'll have a quick look at the ones around the world because these things are amazing. We're going to look at turbidites and turbid flows. Ooh. Remember, geology rocks. Keep rocking. T-Rocks out. Especially you, Archie.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?